Steve, welcome to the club. How pleased are you to be here?
Yeah, no, very pleased. It's been a real hectic 48 hours for me. But today, actually getting back onto the training ground and seeing the lads, and that was good today. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching training and seeing them. Yeah, they worked quite hard today. I was quite pleased with them.
Why is this the right club? Why is it the right time?
Well, I think, why is it the right time? I mean, if you're not working, there's always a right time to get a job, if you know what I mean. I think that the club here, I know it's a good club. I know it's a well-run club. That comes from the chairman and Brian. I always think it's a difficult place to get a result, especially when the crowds are in, which has obviously been very, very tough of late. And I've seen the games. I've watched about 6 or 7 games. I haven't seen all the home games, so I've tried to look at. I gate crashed yesterday, really. I think 6 games that I went through. So I watched a few at home and I watched a few away. I noticed at home that we haven't done well against all the teams down in and around us, which is somewhat, I suppose, disappointing. However, we've got some really good games to come where we play the teams at the top at home. So it's going to be a tough time, tough month. We've got some cracking games coming up this month. So there'll be good games to win. Going back to what you said, the chairman, I mean, obviously, like I said, I've already done in previous press conference that I've known him now for 20 odd years. We first met years ago when I was at Cheltenham, and I think when Shrewsbury played Cheltenham years ago, I think Roland got on very well with my old vice chairman down at Cheltenham called Colin Farmer, who's not with us now. God bless him. I loved him to death, and he was a sad loss in my life a few years ago. But I know they got on really well. So then, obviously, when I would go up to the boardroom after the games, playing against Shrewsbury on it, obviously I bumped into Roland a couple of times, and he was always very kind and very complimentary. And then when Shrewsbury got relegated to the conference, I remember him ringing me, and it was about whether I wanted the job first of all. Conversation started, but I wasn't going to leave Cheltenham at the time, and we'd already got promoted, so that really didn't sort of make sense, if you know what I mean. So I did say to him, though, if you want any advice or whatever, and he said, well, can we meet? And I remember meeting him and his 4 directors at the time, and it might have been 3 directors, I would have been in 4th one. And I remember sat together in a services, it might have been Stafford services, I want to say, on the M6 all them years ago. And I spent about 4 hours with him, about this, that and the other, and then Shrewsbury went on and got promoted then, didn't they, very, very quickly, within either the following year or a year or two. I'm not 100% sure about that. And I'm not saying, by the way, what I said to him helped him get up, but it might have done somewhere along the line. It might have played a small part. So yeah, that was the first time I met him, and I wasn't going to take the job, but I think he appreciated the time where I drove up the motorway and sat some time with him, and I think he's probably never forgotten that. I don't speak to him. I couldn't say to you I speak to him once a year. I couldn't say I did. I did speak to him through COVID, but then I spoke to about 6 of my old chairmen through COVID. So that would be me making the call saying, "How are you?" So yeah, that was it, and that would have been in our first lockdown, early in lockdown. So yeah, and then to get a call from him the other day was out of the blue. It would have been. I didn't even know that Sam had gone, if you know what I mean. And then I had a call very quickly in and around about lunchtime, trying to do a fitness class at home off the telly. So then it escalated into a longer chat with him, then a chat with Brian Caldwell, CEO, another good guy. I think he's good for the chairman, and I think the chairman's good for him. They look a good partnership. To which case then I accepted the job based on agreeing a contract with my agent. So then that night, then it was about trying to get a COVID test because they said they wanted a quick turnaround. It was about getting a COVID test. So they arranged for somebody to drive down the M5 the following morning. So I drove up the M5. So I met somebody at Gloucester Services, done the COVID test. Didn't think much of that, you know. If anyone's ever done one of them, you know, my God. Yeah, that was awful. That I can remember that, you know. It's quite awkward actually when you don't know someone and you're there sticking this thing down your throat and you're gagging for your life. Thankfully, so that then the driver took that off. I think it goes to Leicester, I want to say. So that goes off to Leicester or wherever it went to be checked. So he took that off, but in the meantime, when he was taking that off, my agent then spoke with Brian about the contract. That got finished by about, I think the nuts and bolts of it were done by 5 o'clock. Nuts and bolts of it, maybe 6 o'clock. And then we had to wait then last night for the COVID test. So after the COVID test, it was all ready to go, and then it was all about getting up here today, packing up, getting somewhere to live in the meantime up here. You know, it's too far from Bristol to commute. I wouldn't be doing that. Yeah, and then gate crashing training. You know, they just started in training, and I managed to get it all in. Just missed a little bit of the warm up.
Yeah, now that you're here, you've seen a little bit of the lads and you've
Yeah.
seen the stadium and training ground. What
Yeah.
are your first impressions?
Well, I knew that the what the stadium was like anyway. So you know, we've got a new stadium here. So you know, there isn't going to be any problems with that. The pitch looks fantastic. I spoke to the two groundsmen when I briefly got here this morning. You know, what a fantastic job they do out on that pitch. It is beautiful. And the training ground looks great, you know. So I didn't see the training ground. I hadn't seen the training ground until I got there today. So I thought that was really good.
You mentioned that it's maybe too early to start looking at styles of a way of playing, but I'm sure hard work is something we can expect from your team.
Yeah, no, they'll have to do that, but that, you know, I think that's a prerequisite anyway. So yeah, there's got to be obviously plenty of effort, plenty of energy. You know, you've got to be able to run in this game, and I've said that for years. That isn't something I would say here. You know, I would have come out with those comments when I was at Cheltenham years ago. You've got to be able to run in this game. So yeah, we've definitely got to do that. You know, mistakes are always forgiven as long as they're genuine ones.
You mentioned the next game is the priority, and that's an FA Cup fixture.
Yeah.
That's an interesting tie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is an interesting one, a tricky one as well. We've got to be very mindful of that. I don't actually know David Oldfield, but I've spoken to a few people over the years, and I think David's a very good coach from what I've heard. I think he's a very good coach, so, you know, obviously to get his team to where he's got them to this season in the FA Cup, it definitely won't be an easy task, that's for sure. But we just got to make sure that our own team are up for the game. That's what we need to be. We need to be up for the game.
It's a shame the fans aren't in for this game, but there will
Yeah.
be in the next. How much do you want them to get behind the team and support the lads going forward?
You
now?
know, well, I think they do. I think it's a difficult place to get a result if your team's at it, because if your team's at it, your fans will be at it. And we always have that one over the years, who motivates who? You know, because sometimes everybody says, well, you know, the fans have got to get behind the players and we've got to get behind them. And you can start it off because the players have got to do well, and then the fans will get behind them. So it's an obvious statement, really, you know. I think through the lockdown and period we've had has been incredibly frustrating for fans up and down the country, not just the Shrewsbury fans. So I'm sure that as these tiers get lifted in and around the country, it can only benefit football, because football isn't football without the supporters. You know, I think they are the ones that bring the honesty out of all the players. The fans bring the honesty out because there is no hiding place. Whether you've got 6,000 or you've got 30,000 here, there is no hiding place then. And I'm not saying, by the way, our players aren't honest or they're not hiding. I'm not making that insinuation at all. It's just they bring the honesty to the game. And I'm a football fan myself, you know. So if I'm not working, I'm a football fan. So I won't be any different to them.
Thanks, Steve.